Hello, welcome to the Villa View. It's time for the Luke Live Lounge. I'm Dan Bardell, your host, as usual, joined by the most unprofessional man on the Villa View, Chris Dolan, and we're joined today by a very special guest, long-term friend of the channel, most people's childhood idol, my childhood idol. It's Ian Taylor. Tails, thanks ever so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm very good, mate, considering. I'm very good. Very good.
Yeah, and looking very good as well. You've come dressed in the right gear for the show as well, which again, that's another step up on Dolan. It's good to see you looking so smart.
Well, whenever I need something, Luke sorts me out. So
Yeah.
Cost me a few bit of dollar, but it's all right.
He sends it over, does
Yeah, he's
Dolan?
top man.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Dolan, you well?
Good, mate. Good. Just about good over last Friday. It always takes a few days for it to sort of seep out of the system, but yeah, all good, man. Not too bad. Just looking forward to Sunday, kind of. I mean, but we'll come on to Sunday later on.
We will definitely come up to that. Remember, this is the Luke Live Lounge, sponsored by Luke 1977. If you want to get a 20% discount on their store, if you use the code TVV20, that'll get you 20% off most items. So yeah, have a go. That Tails is writing it down on his hand now. Now, we arrange for you to come on, Tails, with Villa unbeaten. Typically, as it's come to you, you're coming on here. Villa ended up losing on Friday. You were obviously there, which in itself must be an amazing experience because it's something that barely anyone's getting to do. How was it?
Mate, I've told so many people that I'm so privileged to be able to still watch the games. And, it's heartbreaking sometimes when you're there and we've played so well in some games and our fans aren't there to see it and sample it. And especially the Liverpool game, because it was just phenomenal. And you just know that Villa Park would have been jumping that night. So, as far as that's concerned, it's been really, really disappointing. But we've had a great start to the season. And if anybody had said that we'd have this amount of points after this many games, they'd have taken it big time.
Yeah, massive start. Obviously, you can get a bit carried away, can't you, when you're winning? But you can also get a bit carried away in a negative way if you end up losing the game. I thought the reaction on Friday was a bit strange in some ways because yes, okay, we've lost 3-0. We took a good beating. But if you look back at the game, I watched the highlights afterwards, and you sometimes watch it in a different way when you're watching the highlights compared to watching the 90 minutes. But it could have gone in a different way because we had chances to score before they did, didn't we?
Do you know, Dan, that's exactly, I said it the next day, it's exactly what I did. I looked at the highlights. I looked at the chances that we had in the first half, especially. Jax was saved off the line. The keeper's made another save from him. And it could have been so different if we'd have got that goal in front. But it's only I think it was only after an hour that when they scored, and then we just looked a bit tired after that, and they just overran us after that. But for an hour, we were totally in the game, and it didn't feel that way when live on the night. But it's just a shame that we kind of capitulated and let 3 goals in. But but listen, it's one game out of how many we've got against teams that are in the top 6. Do you know what I mean? So, and we haven't done that for a while, have we?
No.
Teams that are up there, big sides as well. So it's I'd take it with both hands this start.
Yeah, it has been an unbelievable start. Dolan, do you feel any differently to how you did on Friday night? Obviously, it's always quite raw when we do the post-match point. We're both a little bit down. Do you feel a little bit better about it now?
It's a funny one because, some defeats are harder to take than others. You've got defeats that come in the last minute. You've got defeats when you're dominating the game and you're 2-0 up, and maybe like Leicester when you get beat 3-2. Then you've got defeats when you just have to sit back and go, well, do you know what? Fair play to Leeds. For, as Tail said, for about 15, 20 minutes, they blew us away. I thought they kind of dominated pretty much the entire game. I know the first half was evenish, but I still think overall, I mean, they had 27, 28 chances on our goal, which again is unlike us this season. And there was just elements of last season I felt in that performance, which was the only slight negative. And again, we spoke about it before, even when we were on the great start and the great run that we were on. You look at the bench and think, well, where's Plan B? How can we affect the game? How can we change the game? And I do worry that if we try and play with this intensity, that they're going to get tired, you know. And I'd imagine the way we've played over the first four games, you know, it's the same. It's pretty much, well, it is the same 11 that have played, you know. And Smith hasn't been making that many substitutions because I still think we're quite light in the squad. But I read somewhere that somebody said, like, yeah, I think it was JB Gray actually said, which I thought was bang on point. You know, it's going to take time not only to build the starting 11, but to build the squad. You know, and it is a project, and I feel that this is the first season of that project. And you know, as we all said, if you'd have sat down and said to us, you know, you're going to win your first 4 games out of 5, and you're going to beat Liverpool 7-2, you're going to keep 3 clean sheets, and play some incredible football and beat Leicester in the last minute, you know, I'd have beaten your hand off, and so yeah, I never like to get beat, even in pre-season friendlies, even cup games. You know, like the Stoke game was still very frustrating, but it's the bigger picture. And I think you're right, Dan. I thought Friday some of the comments were very over the top, and you know, we have to just be a bit more gracious in defeats, and well, that's the way I see it anyway. But listen, it's one game, but like the Premier League, the next game's just as tough.
We'll come on to the Southampton game later. I think that's one of the tougher games that we could have asked for, actually, after a defeat. Tails, obviously you get a different perspective when you're in the ground compared to when you're watching it on TV. But just how good were Leeds? Were you very, very impressed by them, I imagine? And what were they like live to watch?
They were like they're wearing green and blue, but they were like the red arrows. They were everywhere. I think, you know, it's one of those where you looked at the team sheet beforehand and you thought, God, this Leeds team's here for the taking, because there's no outstanding names at all. But what they are is a team. Everybody knows what they're doing. You know, I think you had 2 or 3, maybe 4 players playing out of position as well.
Yeah.
And they knew how to play those positions, because basically they just go man for man all over the pitch. You could see that. And you know, Jack was virtually man-marked himself, and we couldn't cope with it. And they overpowered us, and, you know, the fitness levels were just through the roof. And I thought, you know, the longer the game went on, I thought our midfield was just overrun, and we just couldn't cope with it. But I think the only solace is that we won't play against a Leeds-type team again this season until we play Leeds again. You know what I mean? Because no other team does what they do. So, you know, it's a one-off. So I think going into the next game, it'll be just a totally different game where we can probably be a bit more comfortable in the way we approach the game and the way we play the game.
Yeah, because even their deepest midfielder, obviously Bielsa made that early change when I think it was Strike who got booked early doors, and he was a walking red card, to be fair. So Bielsa just hooked him straight away. But Shackleton came on. I don't think he's played much, to be fair, at the start of the season. But like you say, he just fitted into their system, knew exactly what he was supposed to be doing as the deepest line midfielder. But what amazed me as the deepest line midfielder was every time they came forward, that guy was in the box.
Yeah,
it was just mad. It just felt like everyone, except for the defenders, well, the 2 centre-backs, in fact, it just felt like everyone was in the box. It was just mad to watch.
Yeah, they're not shying getting people forward, but they're not shying getting people back as well. Because, you know, even at 3-0 down, Bielsa was shouting at players to get back when we were attacking. So, yeah, I mean, you can't sort of discount Bamford's finishing as well.
No, good finishing.
Three great goals.
Because honestly, yeah, his second and third were just unbelievable finishes.
Yeah.
So, you know, you've got to take that into account as well, that there was that extra bit of quality with their goals. So it's one of them where, you know, we've got to be fooling ourselves if we're going to go all season unbeaten. So, so for Leeds to beat us in that way, well, like you said, Dolan, it's just probably the way we got beat more than us getting beat. But we're gonna get beaten at some stage. So you got to take it on the chin and look forward to the next one.
Yeah, just going back to that second goal, Dolan, I've never seen Bamford hit a ball like that, let alone on his left foot. But there were shades of Ronaldo there on his weaker foot. The way he hit that, he got some swaz on it, didn't he? Got some swaz on it. I'm not saying he's Ronaldo, but the technique was very Ronaldo-esque. It's a very good goal.
he could have had 5, Dan. I think he missed a couple of golden chances in the first half, and dare I say it to myself when in between the halftime break, I was thinking, well, thankfully it's only Bamford up top for them, and they haven't got they haven't got a worldly striker, and then sit down and watch the second half, and they absolutely tore us to shreds. I just think I think what made it harder to take was there's obviously a little bit of history that built up between us and Leeds over the last maybe 2 seasons. Two of the biggest clubs in the Championship, and what happened at Ellen Road and Bamford, Bamford going down, and he is known for his antics, like we saw even during the game. He went down, and listen, he's not everyone's. He's probably like their Jack Grealish, like Leeds fans love him, opposing fans dislike him. We love Grealish, and you got obviously other opposing fans that dislike Jack. So I think he's just got under our skin. The Leeds have got under our skin as a club. And I was talking to a few friends of mine here in the game and here in football, and they've told me that like they've spoken to their own scouts and what they've come back and said about Bielsa, that he's literally taken the game to another level. He's taken the game to a completely new level, and people haven't seen it before because we haven't had that many Argentines coming in and managing in the Premier League. And from what I gather, he's taken it to that next level, and the thing with Leeds is I've always respected them, especially under Bielsa. But what always got my vote was just the kind of the media hype, really, and more so us getting ignored and Leeds getting more plaudits for getting beat 4-3 against Liverpool than we got for beating Liverpool 7-2. So I think fans, it all kind of came to a head on Friday, and I think a lot of the anger came from our fans because it was Leeds, and I think we really, really, really wanted to beat them, and they just tore us to shreds, unfortunately.
Is it like that in the director's box, Taz? I mean, I don't even know if you're mingling at all before the games now. I've got no idea what it's like, obviously, because I'm not there, but I've seen the Leeds documentary. I don't know whether either of you have seen it, and that Victor Orta, he's usually there screaming his head off in the director's box. Did you see any of that? Is there any bad relations behind the scenes?
There is a little bit. There is a little bit. Let's put it this way: there wasn't that much decorum from the Leeds lot that night.
No, so, I can imagine.
We're looking over, and they were crowing a little bit, which didn't go down too well, especially with myself. But it was right. I think Dolan's quite right. I think there has been a little bit of animosity sort of grown between the two clubs, not just the fans, but it's one of those. Lads, it's one of those. We've got to take it on the chin.
It is.
Sometimes you've got to take defeat with dignity and move on.
What was it like in the Liverpool game then? Were you like just sat on your hands all the way through? Were you up in the air celebrating? It's the same essentially, isn't it? It's the same.
No, but there's a way of doing it.
Okay, I hear you.
But no, we were all up during the Liverpool game because I mean, when was the last time we beat Liverpool? So especially like that. So you've got to enjoy it. But like I say, there's a way of enjoying it.
Okay, interesting. Good exclusive there to know what the Leeds directors were like behind the scenes. Now, I want to try and be a little bit positive here. We don't dwell too much on the Leeds game because we like to be a positive fan channel. No, he's got more positive recently, actually. Since he's come back, he's a bit more positive than he normally is. But just what's the vibe like behind the scenes at the moment, Tails? Because we've had a very good summer. I'm very impressed with the business that we've done. It does feel like there's a good feeling around the place at the moment, despite the defeat.
I think the good thing is, like Dolan says, it's a project and everybody's bought into it. The new director of football seems good. The best thing is we've made signings in positions that we needed to make signings, and they've all turned out to be decent so far. So I've been so impressed with Matty Cash because I didn't know a lot about him as a player before, but it was his toughest game the other night against Leeds.
Yeah,
because they just kept outnumbering him on his side, which is part of their game plan, to be honest. And it came off and it worked to a T. But the goalkeeper, I think, is fantastic as well.
Yeah.
He's just got that assurance in behind the back four. So, and Ross Barkley, do you know, the other night I thought he looked tired towards the end of the game. But maybe because he's not played a great deal of football. But I thought it was a big statement getting him in. So, you know, a lot of other players will look at that signing and think, yeah, it'll be, you know, Villa's not a bad place to be.
Yeah, just going to pop up one of the viewers' questions there. What Dale Hewitt saying, I remember when Ian came to my nan's with Big Hugo when I was a kid. Legend, mate. Dale Hewitt. I've got no idea if you'll remember that, Tales. You going to his nan's house with Hugo?
We'll be climbing out the window or something. With the TV.
Yeah, interesting little story. We'll try and get to the bottom of that one there. But yeah, that's throwing me, to be honest. That one there. You talk about the new signings though, Tails, and Dolan's touched on the squad depth, and you've said it is a project, and we get that, and it's completely fair. But are you a little bit worried that there isn't really much to turn to outside of maybe 3 players on the bench?
Yeah, Chris made a good point earlier. Is that you know, we need our first 11 on the pitch to get results. I think you know, maybe with Traore in, but beyond that, it could be a struggle. So. Maybe that's something to be addressed in January. I don't know whether they are or will be looking for other players. But no, our first 11 will give anybody a game.
Yeah.
But like you say, Dolan, I think we could struggle beyond that.
Are you a bit surprised about that?
Sorry. Like you say, if you're chasing a game as well, you know, there's only really one sub that you can make. So. Yeah, we are struggling as far as that's concerned.
Are you surprised we didn't move for another striker just on the basis that Keenan can be quite injury prone, and it's literally just him to come on up top if you need a goal? I mean, I know he's not the most natural goal scorer in the world, but that's the only slight criticism I think anyone could have of the windows, that you still feel like we're light up top, which is exactly how you felt for the entirety of last season. Obviously, it feels like we've got a goal scorer now in Watkins, but it does feel like numbers-wise that there's not a lot there up top.
I think one thing we can't be fooled by is that us not going for players, because you can bet your bottom dollar that we've gone for players and we've just not got them for one reason or another, because they're always trying to sign, especially in the window. Of course, they're always looking at signing players, but it's got to be right for the club. It's got to be right for them. Cool. It's got to be right for the. I'm hoping someone will answer that.
Bit the Villa press office telling you to get off this, giving away the transfer information.
What are you doing with Dolan and Bardell?
Yeah.
Tommy Jordan, get off, Tails, get off the Villa View, Tails.
Someone's got it, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, well, that's the thing. You know, every club's after players in the window, and we can't think that they're not. So they've got to be right. And for one reason or another, we didn't get players in. So, well, other players in, especially another striker, like you say, because I did think we needed one.
Yeah. Dolan, do you think Villa are at the point now where they'll kind of wait for the right player rather than just getting a body in, and if they have to go a little bit short, they'd rather do that than panic and bring in the wrong player?
There's no one really out there. It was funny, I was watching Sky Sports News today, and there's Jack Wilshere on there looking for a new club, and you're sort of thinking, you got like Wilshere and maybe Danny Sturridge as well, and do you bring them in on a 1 year deal or a pay as you play deal with a big goal bonus, you know, in the mix as well? Like, I don't know. I'd rather have players to call upon than nobody. And listen, I love Kane Davis. I think he's been great for us. And he's very good at what he does, but unfortunately he doesn't score goals, and he you know, it's not in his game. He's a great link-up man, and you know, holds the ball up really well, but he's kind of always nearly a goal scorer, you know. Like, take his debut against Norwich when we beat them 4-2, and he came on at it. He kind of played out of nowhere, and he was unplayable that day against Norwich, but still couldn't find the net, you know. And he just doesn't score enough goals. But Yeah, it is worrying, and I know people say about Wesley, but Wesley, I can't see Wesley playing that much this season. If he comes back, it may be around the new year, and then to get match fitness, at least 5 or 6, 7 games to get up to speed, and then by that stage you're looking at maybe the sort of the very back end of the season. But I'd be very surprised if we don't make a big move in January. But as Tail said, it's tough. It's very, very tough. Like, the market's tough, and I think as fans we just don't really appreciate how hard it is to get a player in the football club. We just don't. Like, it's clearly a very, very hard thing. I mean, Tails, you've been a player. Like, how difficult is it to sign for a football club? And I know maybe in your day it might have been a bit less kind of to and from with agents, but because agents are so prevalent and so involved, like, how difficult is it just to say I want to play for that club?
Well, the thing is, I mean, you spoke about Sturridge and Wilshere. Let's take those two for example. Wilshere's agent will be saying he wants a 2-year deal. Do you know what I mean? Players want security, just like anybody else in life.
Yeah.
They want security, so they won't want to come for a year and to prove themselves. That, you know what I mean? And location comes into it as well. Wilshere's a London boy. Does he want to come all the way up to Birmingham? He'll have kids. He'll have a wife who probably won't want to move. Do you know what I mean? Because they're in schools in London, and all of that stuff comes into it. And money's got to be good, obviously, and it's got to be the whole package. And and then from the club's point of view, do you want to take a chance on a Jack Wilshere who's hardly played in God knows how long? Put your trust in a Sturridge who's not played in that long, and who've been at all these clubs, and for reasons that we don't know about, these clubs don't want them either. So, do we want players that other clubs don't want? Do you know what I mean? So it all comes together, and you have to weigh everything up and say, is this player worth the amount of money that we're going to give him if he's not going to play every week? So it is tough. It is tough, but a lot of scouts out there look at how many games players have played in the last couple of years and how many 90 minutes they've played, because it all comes into it. You don't want to waste your money on somebody who's going to be cropped every other week.
Yeah, money as well. Obviously, the wages, those players will probably command a reasonably hefty wage, despite the fact that they're on free transfers. Just on the financial side of things, how lucky are we at Villa, especially in these COVID times? How lucky are we to have the owners that we've got, and just how good have they done, and what's your experience been of them?
Do you know, I've met them quite a few times. I think the last time, our Egyptian owner came to Fulham, and he always brings his 2 boys because they love it as well, and they're great to get on with. They love the football. Obviously, they live in London, or they've got a house in London, so they're always come to the London games. But no, I think they're fantastic. They've been really, really good. They're great to speak to. But I sometimes I think we don't really know how rich these guys are, because I think they are mega, mega rich.
Yeah, they're a joke.
They are a joke, and we are lucky to have owners like we've got at the moment. So let's hope they stay with us a long, long time.
Yeah, and obviously we just stayed up by the skin of our teeth. Obviously, a pivotal moment in Villa's history. I mean, the owners arriving, I think, was a pivotal moment in Villa's history. But last season was a real sliding doors moment in and staying up. You were part of a side that just about stayed up in your first half a season at Villa, and then that side then kicked on the next season and did very well and finished 4th and won a cup. Now, I'm not for 1 minute saying Villa are going to finish 4th and win a cup, but is there certain similarities between the two sides? Because there is a feel good now that feels a little bit similar to that time. Obviously, I was very young.
Yeah, obviously you were very young.
unlike some people.
Thanks for that, mate. Yeah, there are similarities because the manager Brian Little had to sort of build the side for the second season that we were in the division. So yeah, there's quite a few new signings that had to bed in, and we did really, really well because he picked the right players for the right positions. To be fair, he moved to a different formation, which really, really helped us. So yeah, there are similarities, but nowadays it's a different kettle of fish with with the wages that are involved and the transfer fees that are involved. So, but yeah, look, at the end of the day, we're moving in the right direction, and we got out of that godforsaken division, and we're back in the Premier League where we belong, and we're holding our own. And I just want us to improve on last season, obviously, and then we can push on next season.
Do you think it'll be a big improvement? What's a big improvement for Villa this year? What do you think's achievable?
I think mid-tables are achievable easily, even top 8. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the way we started, why not? It proves that we can mix it with good sides in this division. It's just a case of consistency, really. If we lose to Leeds on Friday and then go and win against Southampton on Sunday, then the Leeds result's forgotten. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then and we're still up there. We'll still be up there in the top 3, 4. So, I don't think, as we mentioned earlier, I don't think we have to take defeats as hard as we need to, because you're gonna get beaten, and it's just how you come back from them.
Yeah, that is the biggest thing, isn't it, on Sunday, Dolan? Just to take something, because you suddenly lose 2 in a row, and it is doom and gloom. But even if you could just take a point on Sunday and bounce back and not lose consecutive games, we went there was times last season where we go 5 or 6 without a win. Just how vital is it that we don't get caught in a rut at all this season, and then we try and consolidate and push towards that top half?
But it's been a mad season, Dan, and I just think we just have to take every game as it comes, because we look at the results even this season across the entire league, and it seems to have settled down a little bit over the last maybe week, but those first 3 or 4 games were just bonkers. They were just completely mad. And Southampton are a great team. They're a very, very, very good team, and I was looking at some stats. I think they're maybe the 4th or 5th best team post lockdown until now.
I think it might even be 3rd,
Is okay, well then there you go. I mean, they are the informed team since one of the informed teams since lockdown. And I think the job that he's done. They got tanked 9. Was it 9-0 at home to Leicester or 9?
It was definitely 9.
And that just happens in football. I mean, 9 doesn't happen in football, but defeats happen. And for me, it's all about how you bounce back. And people have bad days in every walk of life. You have good days and bad days, and we had an off on Friday. But I just think, looking at the season overall, for me, these last season and this season for me are still all about survival. I mean, I said last season I'd take 17th. This season I said top 12. I just think we have to just take it season by season, and it's going to be a gradual process. The one saving grace this season, from what I gather, I probably think there's probably 4 or 5, maybe 6 teams that are worse than us, comfortably worse than us. And you look at Fulham and maybe Burnley, and there's a few down there, West Brom with struggle. There's a few teams down there that I don't really fear. Whereas last season I felt we were at times by far the worst team in that division. So this season for me, it's started off incredibly. It's going to be a work in progress. You're going to have good games and bad games, and Sunday, as I said before, Sunday's a tough game, and Southampton for me are one of our kind of bogey teams over the last couple of seasons. They've been very, very hard for us to beat. They took us apart twice last season, very, very comfortably, 3-1 at home and 2-0 at the start of the year at their place. And they've got one of the most informed strikers in the country at the minute in Danny Ings, and I think they've got quality over the pitch. Ward-Prowse have been on for many years. Redmond, Bertrand. They've got some real quality players in that team, and it'll be a tough game. It'll be a very, very tough game, and I'll take a point.
What do you think, Tails? Because Southampton are one of the most drilled sides again in the Premier League. They've got this set way of playing. They play 4-2 and then a 3-2 in front and two strikers. And Danny Ings is banging form. It looks like Jay Adams has come into a little bit of form as well. One of those teams that play two up front, which is quite rare in itself nowadays. But how much of a test will they be on Sunday?
Oh, they're a massive test. Like Dolan says, they even since when I was playing, they were always a bogey team for us. Do you know what I mean? So it is a really, really tough game. But I'm hoping that, you know, we can take advantage of our extra man in midfield against, you know, they play a 4-4-2. So I'm just hoping that we can take advantage in midfield and be a little bit stronger. But, I mean, going back to the Premier League itself, lads, I don't know about you, but the league seems wide open and it looks like anybody can beat anybody. So, you know, like I say, if we can just be consistent and not go on runs of losing 3 or 4 on the bounce, then, you know, we can end up anywhere.
What do you think's the reason for it just being absolutely nuts this season? It does feel a strange league. Obviously, there's no fans there anyway, so that's a strange thing in itself. And it doesn't look like we'll be getting fans back for the entirety of the season in the volume that we want. But what do you put it down to? Because for me, one of the biggest things is teams can't defend anymore, which in your day, obviously they could. Is that a contributing factor? What other things do you think's going on?
But it's been a big part of our start is that, you know, we've defended well up until the Leeds game. But, you know, we've defended well, and those teams that can keep the most clean sheets obviously will do well this season. But I don't underestimate the influence of the fans, because, you know, I think I saw a stat the other day that there's been more away wins than ever before this season. So I do think teams playing away from home now, they feel a lot more comfortable. They don't get intimidated at all, because you know, there are players that, you know, they do shrink when you know, there's 40,000 screaming at you. So I think it's a big advantage not having any fans there for some teams. Yeah.
Do you think it has helped Villa in some way sometimes? Because when things are bad, like towards the end of last season, I imagine Villa Park potentially, it could have been a really nasty place to play when it looked like we were definitely going down. We lost a few games in a row with 4 games left. We look finished. Are players more likely to play a pass that perhaps they wouldn't play with no fans there? Do you think in some ways it's helped Villa?
Maybe not this season, because we started well.
Yeah.
So, like you say, towards the back end of last season, for example, when we got battered by Man United at home, that day there probably would have been baying for blood, our fans. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
because of the performance and everything. But you know, the lads weren't trudging off the pitch to a barrage of abuse. So the next game, they feel a lot better for it. So, you know, not that I'm sort of having a go at fans booing the team or anything like that, but we all know what happens when the lads don't perform. The fans like to vent the frustration, and the team wasn't getting that. So, but it's like I said, it's been a lot different this season because we started well and we've been winning. So would have been interesting to see what the reaction would have been after the Leeds game, but we'll never know that. So, but the lads can. It's one of those. They've got plenty of time this week. Got a full, you know, more than a week to recover from that game and get it out of the system and look forward to Sunday.
Just wanted to ask you two a little bit, going back to Friday. Obviously, Gabby had stoked up the fires in the media a little bit going into the game against Leeds, and I've got a few mates who've been absolutely panning him, saying like, "Why is he saying that for team talk done for Leeds?" Would you read anything into that at all? Do you think that's affected the game at all, what Gabby's done? Because I think it's nonsense, personally, if people think that's affected anything.
It's a bit old school thinking that would have affected anybody, because I know back in the day, managers would have they'd have got his transcript up and put it on the dressing room door and said to all the players, look at what he said about our team, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's so much now. I think it's all sort of fan driven, and I don't think the players pay any attention to that kind of stuff anymore.
Because you played for Villa, didn't you? When Melberg laid into Birmingham City just before we were about to play them, and obviously we went and lost 3-0. Did anyone say anything to him about that at that point, about doing that? Did you at the time? Can you remember?
I don't think anybody did, because I don't think it would have affected anything. But yeah, it's not the best thing to do against your rivals, is it really?
No. I imagine you wouldn't have wanted to say anything to Olaf, to be fair, as well, because he'd probably beat you up.
Yeah, I wouldn't have had to dig it all off. He would have absolutely changed you, you know, and left you on the floor.
I could handle him.
You could take him.
Yeah.
Is there anyone who's played, anyone in your time that you couldn't have taken, do you reckon?
Nah, mate, I could take them all.
I thought you were going to say. I'm trying to think of someone that I think could have you, and there's a few names popping into my head. George Boateng would have had you, I reckon.
He would have.
They can't fight the wheels of my car, can they?
What did you make of the Gabby stuff, Dolan?
I just think he's a complete wind-up merchant. I mean, you know, I only know Gabby through being a Villa fan and watching interviews and whatever else. And even when he was playing, he just winds people up. And you know, you hear players talk about their teammates over the years, and you would know that Gabby would have been one of those players in the Villa dressing room who would have sort of, you know, always got into trouble, always got fined. You know, he just sort of seems to always say and do the wrong thing, just because he's just having a laugh. And listen, I think it's great. I think the game misses that. I think it needs more characters, and especially in the media, it needs more characters like Gabby, who have just stopped playing and who know the game and know the modern game inside out. And he's just having a laugh, you know. I literally don't take anything like that with seriously at all. And I think if anything, the Leeds fans should be flattered that he's taking the time out to talk about their club and their team and their players and fans, because he's just having a laugh.
Yeah, he's messing around. Do you think we'll make any changes, Dolan, on Saturday? Sunday.
Yeah, the only one I can think of is maybe it's time for Troy to step in. The only thing I can really, it's the only position I can look at and go, you know, Trezeguet is the only one really kind of playing for his place. I think the rest of the team picks itself at the minute. Goalkeeper, back four, midfield three, and Jack and Watkins.
I do think, lads, that Trezeguet looks like he's playing for his place as well.
Yeah.
He's worked his proverbials off, hasn't he? Every single. So
much respect for the guy, like, because listen, he wasn't, him and Douglas Luiz weren't everybody's favourites last season, and they've both, especially Luiz, at the end of last season, and then Trez with what he did against Palace and Arsenal, and then how he started the season. You know, the guy loves it. And even there was a clip whenever we were in the huddle, like after the West Ham game, and we were waiting for the result. And there's a clip on YouTube from BT Sport, and you can see Trez. He's nearly in tears, and it means so much to him. He's only been at the club for 12 months, and you know, he cares. He really, really cares, and he seems like a really, really nice guy. The only thing about Trez that frustrates everyone is maybe his kind of lack of our product. But you cannot fault the guy's work effort. You cannot fault his desire and his commitment, and he works his socks off. But yeah, he's the only player, Dan, I would think that is possibly be switched over for Traore.
Yeah, you go along with that, Tails?
Yeah, I'd go along with that. I think the only worry is, you know, Traore going forward, but what can he do going the other way?
Yeah.
So I think that's the worry, and I think that's probably what's in the manager's head as well. To be honest, is that you know, our defensive structure's been good this year, not because of just the back four. It's because the team's defended well. So you know, you only need one little kink in that armour, and it's trouble. So yeah, but you know, I feel sorry for Trezeguet because you know his name's always the first one that comes up when there's a substitution, isn't there? Yeah. So you know,
him and Moran be the two kind of fall guys really, and I do think it's a little bit out of order that Connor hasn't had any football at all in the last 2 or 3 games. I mean, there was no doubt that Barkley was blown on Friday night. Connor should have come on, you know, no question. I think it's harsh. I think it's harsh because to be dropped after a goal and an assist against Fulham. Listen, Barkley's a top player, and he's come in and he's warranted the shirt. But I think as you said, Tails, between him and Trezeguet. There's a couple of fall guys, him, Trezeguet, and Matt Target seem to be the three that if anything goes wrong, then the fans quickly make their voices heard, which I think is very unfair.
Is that just normal though, Towers? I can't recall anyone when you were playing that was like that. Was there anyone in the side when you were playing that you felt was a bit like that? They'd always be the fall guy. They'd be the one the fans would turn on. I've put you on the spot there. Yeah, Towers.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. We always knew what the strongest team was, and yeah, there was only a couple of times maybe, but Tommy Johnson probably was unlucky as far as that was concerned because he was always the first person that came on. Do you know what I mean? To game, because we knew he could score. But then he's one of those. If he did score when he came on, he'd be dropped for the next game. Do you know what I mean? And back on the bench, and he could never secure a place in the team for a length of time. So yeah, he was probably one of the most unlucky ones. But yeah, I can't recall anybody else.
Okay, good player, Tommy Johnson. Very, very good player. I used to enjoy watching him as a kid. We are going to take you back in time a little bit now, Towers. We've had some questions from the Villa View watchers and listeners, and we're also going a bit back in time as well because some people will know this, that you and myself used to have a show on Facebook every week at the Villa games until we got cancelled after one season. But we used to do a Taylor's teaser at the end, didn't we? Yeah, well, I don't think it's down to you, is it? You're still showing up at Villa Park every week. You're still getting the media work. But we used to do the Taylor's teaser at the end of each game, didn't we? So I've just got 5 questions for you here about your career. I'll be surprised if you get some of them, to be honest. I didn't even know the answer to one of them, and I like to think I know everything about you. So let's just start off. Dolan, you feel free to play along as well. So we'll start off with an easy one. It's a 2-parter. Who did you score your first goal for Villa against?
Chelsea.
Yeah, and what shirt number were you wearing?
17.
Oh, he's done it. He's
Good
got that
start.
one. Good start. Off to a flyer. Absolutely no way you get this one, I don't think. And if Dolan gets it, he only knows it because I told him the answer before we came on.
That wasn't the plan. I was going to jump in there trying to get genius.
No, I'm not letting you take the glory. I'm not letting you take the glory. Who did you score your last goal for Villa against, Tails?
Bolton?
Give him a clue. It was a cup game.
Was it Bolton? No.
It's a cup game, apparently.
A cup game?
Yeah. I did my research this morning.
I don't know.
Oxford. Oxford in the League Cup 3rd round or second round.
At their place.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised to learn that was your last goal for Villa, to be honest.
Off the shin and into the corner. Classic.
They all count, mate. They all count.
Loves a shin. He scored a few shinners in his time. Question number 3. Which player took over your famous number 7 shirt when you left?
Lee Hendrick.
Oh, quick. Didn't think you'd get that one either, to be honest. Well done.
Remember taking how dare you?
Question number 4. Villa play Southampton at Villa Park on Saturday. Topical. Did you ever score against them at Villa Park?
Yes.
Do you know how many?
2.
Yes, 2. Once,
I remember the goals as well, mate, because
I
played centre half in the one game. I played left-sided centre half. I scored a header from a corner.
Yeah, 3-0 win, 96.
And the other one was, I think Drapes pinged a great ball to me, controlled it, volley. Great. Yeah. That's a great strike. I remember that strike.
1-1 draw in 1997. I tell you what, you have come on leaps and bounds in the last 3 years with memory. Unbelievable.
It's come back, mate. It's come back.
Yeah, it has come back.
Tablets I've been taking.
There's some reverse Alzheimer's going on here from you. I don't know what's going on there. Question number 5. Ian Taylor scored with his left shin against Leeds at Wembley in 1996. Which brand of football boots was he wearing?
Boots was wearing. I was quite.
Adidas.
boot
Yeah,
game.
yeah, the Coupes. I tell you what, good effort there.
He's got a cap.
Very, very good effort, Tails. You've got five out of 6 there.
That was before Nike came along with a wad.
Were you sponsored by Nike?
After that, yeah.
After your cup final goal.
Well, I don't know when it was, mate, but I do remember I went to Nike.
Excellent. I didn't know that. There we go. I thought I knew everything. There's something there that I didn't know. We've got some viewer questions now. For the first one is, what's it? I didn't write down who asked this actually, but what's it like just being universally loved by everyone?
I don't know, mate. I don't know.
You do know. Villa fans love you. You can't go to Villa Park.
I thought it was only you two.
No. I've walked around a game with you, and you literally can't go a centimetre without someone wanting to talk to you or wanting a photo with you. And you're very good as well. You stop for absolutely every person. But what is that like, just being a hero?
To be honest, mate, one of the things that I've always done, and because I know what it's like to be a fan that wants to get an autograph or get a picture, and I just never ever try and say no to anybody. And I've always tried to give everybody time and have a chat and give them a picture or an autograph. And I know how much it means to people. And, you know, I never ever want to walk away from somebody with them saying, oh, that Taylor's a bit of a git, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? So it's something I've always tried to do. And maybe that's the reason why, because you give people the time of day.
Probably the only reason you've remained friends with Dolan and myself as well, I would have thought. We've got another question here from Mies Con. Other than your good self and Jack, who is the best ever Villa midfielder? I think I know who you'll say here, but who do you think? Best ever Villa midfielder other than yourself and Grealish?
Sid.
Sid, yeah.
He was my idol, mate. He was my idol.
Yeah, happy birthday to him for yesterday as well. It was his birthday yesterday, wasn't it, Sid Cowans? Just how good was Sid Cowans? Tell the younger listeners and viewers just how good was he? Because to be fair, I never saw him play. He
wasn't the biggest. He wasn't the most. He wasn't the strongest. But boy, he loved to tackle, and I've never seen anybody ping a ball as good as him. So, and he was just so silky and skillful, and he was like a Glenn Hoddle before his time, but could tackle. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we're totally different to the way I was. So, but I loved him as a player. Just loved him as a player.
Yeah. Yeah, you only hear good things about Sid Cowans, like you say. I've never heard anyone say he wasn't that great. A lot of people say he's Villa's greatest ever player as well, which is a massive thing to obviously be labelled as. We've got one from Tim Griff. Who, when you were playing, who would you rely on in the changing room to lift you after a bad result?
Gosh, in a funny way, it would have been Mark Draper, because he could just get a smile back on your face, you know, as quick as. I don't know. Yeah, Drake, Tommy, because we were never ones to dwell on a defeat, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Of course, you didn't like losing, but you know, the very next day in training, come in with smiles on the faces and say, "Look, let's look forward to the next game," kind of thing. And you just forgot about the game that's just gone on, and just look to win the next one.
Yeah, good winning mentality.
On that note, what was it like to play with Paul Merson? Because I think he's one of my favourite ever Villa players, and he wasn't with us that long, but I just think he was such a naturally gifted footballer, and you know, just a real class act on the pitch. What was he like sort of to play with and
he was a great guy. Like you say, he's one of the great guys to have in a dressing room. Always had something to say, always had an opinion. But what a player! He's one of those. He's one of those that I struck up a relationship straight away, because he liked the fact that I bombed on from midfield, and he could look for players such as myself in the box, and he loved trying to find those delicate passes or them 40-yard passes right onto your toe. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
he liked players like myself. Plus, I do all his work for him as well. and we had a good relationship, and I still speak to Merce now, and that's a good thing about a lot of the teammates that I had. I still speak to a lot of them now, so it just shows what kind of teammates we were.
Now, Adam Laws has asked what would be your best five-a-side team from the people you played out of Villa. I imagine Merson's going to be in there. So, who are the other four?
Definitely Merce, definitely Lee Hendry, definitely Gareth Barry. I'd have to have I can't have too many now. I need a goalkeeper, don't I?
You pretty much definitely need a goalkeeper. Yeah, you'll struggle without a goalkeeper.
Have a six-a-side.
Yeah, go on, and we'll up it to six.
Yeah. I'd go for Bozzy in goal, and Yorkie.
Good team. No, what about McGrath?
I'd be all out attack.
You on the bench as well?
Yeah, if Paul McGrath was in the team, I'd be on the bench, mate. But we wouldn't need defenders in a six-a-side. No,
you'd be all right. When you a lot of people rave about Lee Hendry. Like, obviously, I always thought he was a very good player, but I'm always surprised with how highly people that played with him are to talk about him as a player. Just how good was he?
He's a really good footballer, mate. And you don't get picked for England for nothing. And Lee got it. And in at that time as well, there were some good midfield players. And Lee got into the England squad. So we spoke about my number 7 getting taken, and he couldn't have gone to a better player, really.
Yeah, I think he's one of the most underrated players. I mean, Dan, whatever John Gregory said about Hendry, never dropping below an 8 every week. Even if we had a bad game, he always had a good game. He never fell below an 8 out of 10.
Do there were similarities with Lee with Jack earlier in his career, where Lee, disciplinary wise, didn't get it, but I know Jack's cleaned up his act now. Lee was the same, and he was getting probably more on the pitch, Lee, but he was getting sent off in games for just kicking people and doing stupid stuff and losing his head. But he was a proper player, and like you said, Dolan, I think he was proper underrated. But like I said, there were some good midfield players around at that time as well. So it was difficult for him to get a regular England place, but he still got in the squads, didn't he? He still played. So good player, really good player.
It's frightening. See, when you think about the players that we've had over the last 25 years, I mean, honestly, I think our starting 11 over the last 25 years would be one of the best in the country. I mean, there's been such talent that's come through our football club, and you forget how blessed we are as fans to have seen these great players come through the club. Like, really, really phenomenal footballers.
That's the thing. A lot of the players have come through the club. They're not done so well at Villa, but they've gone on to do some great things. Some of them still playing in the Premier League now. And you think if we could have kept a lot of those players together, we would have had a hell of a team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's crazy, really. A lot of them were just come to Villa at the wrong time, or didn't settle, or just came at a difficult time where they couldn't quite do it for us. But they've gone on to do some good things. It's crazy, really.
Yeah, some unbelievable players that we've been privileged to watch over the years. We'll just finish with Dom Lerner then. Bar the cup final shinner, what was your favourite goal you scored for Villa?
Thanks, Dom.
Shinner.
No, I added the shinner bit in. I added the shinner bit. That wasn't Dom.
All right, apologies, Dom. Apologies. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. Bar the cup final goal, what's your favourite goal you scored for Villa?
It's got to be my my debut goal at Villa Park. Got to be, because my first game was at Highbury,
which is my first game, Bills, as a Villa fan. I was there. Yep, I was there, mate. My first ever game as a Villa fan.
All right. We're in the green and black and red.
0-0. The green kit, the green away kit. Big John Fashionary in his red Quasars up top. Yeah. What's it? That was it.
But yeah, that was my debut, and then my home debut was against Chelsea, and to score in front of the Holt, mate. my first home game, all my family, all my friends were there. I must have had to get 50 odd tickets, and it was crazy to score in front of the Holt was just what dreams are made of. What dreams are made of. That is always my favourite goal.
It's mad, really, because I remember that game. Like, I would have only been 7 or 8 at the time, and that was the first game where the Holt end opened as all-seater. So it was the first time I sat in my seat that I still have now as a season ticket holder. It's funny that you scored in that game, so I remember you making your debut, and I remember being there at that game, sitting in my seat for the first time, and your goal. So great to go through the old memories. It's been great to have you on as well. Always a pleasure. Me and Dalton don't.
You finished?
Yeah, we're going to finish. We're still going out though, Tail. So don't do anything stupid. We're still live. We've got to finish because the Champions League started, and I don't like to miss the Champions League. But we have got.
Yeah. That's more important, yeah.
Exactly. If someone was here to start on time, we'd have got finished on time, wouldn't we? But someone couldn't work. The modern day technology. Just finish with the competition. There is a competition to win the pool polo, kindly given to us by our friends at Luke Roper, who sponsor this show. So if you fancy winning yourself a pool polo in your size, you head over to our Instagram to be in with a chance of winning it. You got to follow the Villa View, follow the Luke Roper Instagram as well, and just comment with your prediction ahead of the game for Southampton. So yeah, go on and do that on Instagram, and you'll give yourself a chance of winning a pool polo. Now, also, we've got a headphone industry titan, obviously, on the show with us tonight, who's kindly agreed to give away some headphones. So we'll put the details of that competition onto Twitter after the show. So if you head on to Twitter, all you're going to have to do is prove that you've watched the show by taking a screenshot of yourself watching the Villa View on Twitter. The one that we like will basically win the headphones. Do you want to sell us the headphones a bit, Tails? What's so special about them?
Yeah, they're my own brand of headphones.
Yeah.
Called IT7 Audio. Dolan's not got any. He got his nicked. So, I'm sure he'll be entering the competition to win them.
No, I'm fine with my Dre Beats Tails.
Oh no, we don't like Dre Beats on this show, Chris.
I can't actually believe you've actually mentioned that.
Unbelievable. He likes to kill people that help the Villa View out. We have sponsors of shows, and he drinks rival beers on the show sponsored by a beer company. He doesn't wear the Luke Roper clothing, and now he's talking about different headphone companies. So,
you know what I mean? Well, I'm looking forward to my Gucci gear, mate.
Yeah. Make sure you hit him up, mate. Don't mention Gucci. It's definitely time for it to end the show. It's completely derailed at the end. But Tails, it has been great to have you on. I always enjoy speaking to you. Any excuse to talk to you and me and Dolan will do it. Dolan, thank you to you as well. Join us for the post-match pint on Sunday. Dolan, stop interrupting me. Join us for the post-match pint on Sunday around 2:15. Obviously, Tails will be at the game, so he won't be able to join us, but we'll have some guests. We'll have a chinwag after the game, and hopefully there'll be 3 points to the Villa. Only one thing left to say. Up the Villa.
Up the Villa.
Up the Villa.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.